the ideal human, the new man and woman. History has carried us to the threshold of a new age that is open to the manifestations of divine favor. Despite, or in parallel with, advances in science and technology, the last 2 or 3 centuries have witnessed a global break with traditional values and, in the name of renewal, an attachment to different values and speculative fantasies. It is our hope, strengthened by promising developments, that the next century will be the age of belief and moral values, an age that will witness a renaissance and revival for the believers. Among wavering crowds that lack sound thinking or reasoning, a new type of people will appear. They will rely equally on reason and experience, but give as much importance to conscience and inspiration as they do to the former. They will pursue the perfect in everything, establish the balance between this world and the next, and wed the heart to the intellect. The coming to be of such people will not be easy. All births are painful, but these blessed births will take place and provide the world with a new, brilliant generation. Just as rain pours out of slowly gathering clouds and water wells up from underground, so too will the flowers of this new generation one day appear among us. These new people will be individuals of integrity who, free from external influences, can manage independently of others. No worldly force will be able to bind them, and no fashionableism will cause them to deviate from their path. Truly independent of any worldly power, they will think and act freely, for their freedom will be in proportion to their servanthood to God. Rather than imitating others, they will rely on their original dynamics rooted in the depths of history and try to equip their faculties of judgment with authentic values that are their own. They will think, investigate, believe, and overflow with spiritual pleasure. While making the fullest use of modern facilities, they will not neglect their traditional and spiritual values in building their own world. If changes and reforms are linked to and dependent on eternal, universal values, they may be welcomed eagerly. Otherwise, there will be a plethora of speculative fantasies that are appealing because of their novelty and modernity. Standing on the firm ground of those eternal values, the new man and woman will always look to the future to illuminate the darkness enveloping the world. They will become completely truth-loving and trustworthy and, in support of truth everywhere, always ready to leave their families and homes when necessary. Having no attachment to worldly things, comforts, or luxuries, they will use their God-given talents to benefit humanity and plant the seeds of a happy future. Then, constantly seeking help and success from God, they will do their best to protect those seeds from harm, just as a hen protects its eggs. Their entire lives will be dedicated to this way of truth. To stay in touch and communicate with people's minds, hearts, and feelings, these new men and women will use the mass media and try to establish a new power balance of justice, love, respect, and equality among people. They will make might subservient to right and never discriminate on grounds of color or race. These new people will unite profound spirituality, diverse knowledge, sound thinking, a scientific temperament, and wise activism. Never content with what they know, they will continuously increase in knowledge of self, of nature, and of God. Equipped with the good morals and virtues that make them truly human, these new men and women will be altruists who embrace humanity with love and are ready to sacrifice themselves for the good of others when necessary. As they shape themselves in the mold of universal virtue, they will simultaneously strive to illuminate the way of others. They will defend and support what is good and recommend it to others, while seeking to challenge, combat, and eradicate all evils. These new people will believe that the Almighty gave them life here so that they could know and worship Him. Without discriminating between the book of the universe, where the divine names are manifested and which is therefore full of signs of Him and acts as a stairway leading to Him, and the divine scripture, the translation of the book of the universe. They will see science and religion as two manifestations of the same truth. They will never be reactionary. They will not pursue events, for they will be the dynamism of history that initiates and shapes events. With due perception of their age and surrounding conditions, and in devotion to their essential values and with utmost reliance on God, they will be in a state of continuous self-renewal. These new people will conquer their selves, thoughts, and hearts, and those of others, and they will discover the unknown. They will regard any time spent in not taking a new step into the depths of the self and the universe as being wasted. As they remove, through faith and knowledge, the veils covering the face of reality, they will become even more eager to advance further. With the messages and answers received from the heavens, the earth, and the seas, they will continue to journey until they return to their Creator. The Portrait of People of Heart. With their vision, faith, and deeds, people of heart are integrated heroes of both spiritualism and meaning. Their profundity relies not on their knowledge or acquisitions, but on the richness of their hearts, the pureness of their souls, and their closeness to God. They believe that the principles presented to humanity in the name of knowledge are valuable only if they lead humanity to the truth. Similarly, they regard information, and especially abstract knowledge that has no practical use at all, as being insignificant, as they do not assist human beings to understand the reality of the creatures, the matter, and human beings themselves. People of heart are monuments of humility and modesty who are devoted to a spiritual life, determined to stay away from all the material and spiritual dirt, always vigilant to corporeal desires of the body, and ready to struggle with such evils as hatred, resentment, greed, jealousy, selfishness, and lust. They always endeavor to give what is right the highest esteem, to convey to others what they feel about this world, as well as the next, and they are always patient and cautious. People of faith and action who, rather than talking and making noise, live as they believe, present an exemplary personality for others. Such people move on, never pausing, teaching those who are walking toward God how to do so. Inside, they have a pyre that can never be extinguished. Yet, in order not to disclose this painful burning inside, such people never complain to others. As such, they are constantly emitting heat to the spirits of those who seek shelter in them. A longing for the transcendent realms is evident in the eyes of people of heart. Dedicated to the consent of God, they are such people of progress and of struggle with distances that they run like a purebred Arabian steed until they reach their beloved one, without expecting in the meantime anything in return. People of heart are such sincere adherents of the truth that all they think of is to stabilize the justice on earth, and they are willing, when it comes to His consent, to give up their own desires and wishes. They open their hearts to everyone, welcoming them affectionately and appearing as an angel of preservation in society. Regarding their deeds and attitudes, they try to be compatible with everybody. They try to avoid vicious competition with others, and they avoid resentment. Even though such people make choices from time to time in favor of their convictions, beliefs, methods, and ways, they do not compete with others. On the contrary, they love all who serve in the name of their religion. They love their country and their ideals. Furthermore, they give generously to other people in pursuit of positive activities, and they try to show as much respect as possible to the philosophy and ideas that other people adopt. Along with such endeavors and activities, people of heart who are seeking ways to incur His help also give utmost importance to God's aid and assistance. They pay particular attention to union and solidarity, which are considered a means of God's aid. They are ready, wholeheartedly, to cooperate with anybody who is on the straight path. Moreover, for such an understanding of union, they, in spite of themselves, follow a path. Believing that union incurs mercy, and dissension and disunion lead nowhere, such people do their best to gain the help and goodwill of all, ever receptive to showers of divine aid. People of heart are lovers of God and devoted seekers of God's consent. They connect their deeds to His pleasure, regardless of the circumstances. They display great ambition to please Him and are willing for the sake of this purpose to use or abandon all that they possess, of this world or not. There is never any room in the realm of their thoughts for unpleasant expressions like, "I did it," "I succeeded," or "I managed it." Such people take pleasure in the fulfillment of the tasks of others, as if they had carried such actions out themselves. They take the same amount of pleasure in such achievements as if it were their own, and they follow humbly after these people, leaving also the honor and the title of leading to them. What is more, as they consider others to be more eligible and successful in serving religion and humanity, they provide other people with more comfortable facilities and, taking a step back, continue in their service as an ordinary person. People of heart are too busy fighting themselves and their misdemeanors to be interested in the misdeeds of others. In contrast, they set an example to others of what a good person should be, leading others to attain higher horizons. They turn a blind eye to what other people may do wrong. Responding with a smile to those who have displayed negative attitudes, such people nullify bad behavior with kindness, not thinking to hurt anybody, even when they have been hurt over and over again. For the man of heart, a soldier of the reality that has been devoted to gaining God's good pleasure with feelings, ideas, and deeds, the first priority is to lead a life based on perfect faith and equipped with sincerity. Thus, it is unlikely that such a person will be dissuaded from reaching their goal, even if they were offered the heavens in addition to the world. People of heart never compete with those who bear the same ideals and who walk on the same path, nor do they envy them. In contrast, they complete what has been left incomplete by others, and, when interacting with other people, they treat them as if they were as closely connected as organs of the same body, with a complete understanding of renunciation, pushing their counterparts into the limelight. In every earthly as well as unearthly matter, they withdraw to the background. They act as spokespersons for the accomplishments of others, applauding them and welcoming their achievements with the same joy that they feel on a festival. Relying to a great extent on method and manner, people of heart conduct all of their acts in accordance with their nature. They try, however, to remain respectful to the acts and thoughts of others. They are able to live harmoniously and to share developing common projects. They struggle to replace the word I with the word we. Over and above all this, they sacrifice their happiness for that of others. In doing so, they never expect any appreciation or respect from anyone. They even think that such expectations are a form of moral corruption, and thus they avoid appearing in the limelight. They avoid fame and fortune, much as they would a snake or a scorpion, hoping only to be soon forgotten. People of heart do not violate the rights of any other people, nor do they seek revenge. Even in the most critical circumstances, they tend to behave calmly and do whatever a person of heart should do to the utmost. They always reply to evil acts with kindness and, considering badness to be a characteristic of evil, treating those who have harmed them as monuments of virtue. People of heart lead a life illuminated by the light of the Quran and the Sunnah, and also within the framework of the consciousness of taqwa, piety, blessing, and sainthood. They are on constant guard against feelings of egoism, pride, fame, etc., feelings which kill the heart. The glories performed by such people are attributed to the real owner, saying, "All is from him." With those things that depend on willpower, they avoid uttering I, instead taking refuge in we. People of heart are afraid of no one. No single event can send them into a panic. Relying on God, He works hard, expecting the rest from His aid, sums up their character, and they never break their promise. People of heart never lose their temper with anybody, nor are they offended by those whose hearts are attached to God. When they see any of their brothers or sisters in religion doing wrong, they do not abandon them. In order to avoid embarrassment, they do not make any wrongdoing publicly or personally known either. On the contrary, they blame and question themselves for witnessing any immoral act. People of heart avoid commenting on the attitudes of believers that are apt to be interpreted differently. They think positively of what they see and hear and never perceive such actions as being negative. In every act and deed, people of heart keep in mind that here, this world, is not a place of reward, but rather one of service. Accordingly, they perform the duties that they are responsible for in strict discipline, regarding it as being discourteous to God to be concerned about the consequences. They consider it a priority to perform actions in the name of God and with God's consent in order to serve the religion, belief, and humankind, and however great their achievements may be, they attribute all to God, without thinking about taking a personal share for themselves. The destruction of order cannot leave people of heart in despair, nor does the opposition of other people disturb them. This world is not a place for conflicts or rows, but one for endurance, they say, and patiently clench their teeth. They seek ways out of any situation that they may find themselves in, not losing hope even at the most critical of times, and they are constantly producing with adamant perseverance multifarious strategies. Today, when we find that human values are despised, when there are cracks appearing in religious thinking, when every place resounds with the disturbance caused by the carefree ones, we need people of heart as much as we need air to breathe and water to drink. The ideal believer, the ideal Muslim. The Muslims are those from whose tongues and hands other Muslims are safe and sound. The emigrants are those who leave behind and abandon those things God has prohibited. Let us briefly analyze the above hadith. Notice the presence of the definite article el in Arabic before Muslim. What can be extrapolated from this is that there are ideal believers who enter an atmosphere of safety and security, having so immersed themselves in that atmosphere that they harm no one with their hands or tongues. This refers only to the true and ideal Muslims who leave their mark on all minds, not those who appear or claim to be so, or to those whose identity cards or passports have Muslim written on them. We understand this from the article used in the Arabic, which indicates something specific, definite. This is derived from the grammatical rule of the Arabic language. When something is described by a definite article, the item's highest and most perfect condition is indicated. So, when one hears the believer, the first thing that comes to mind is the most perfect meaning of believer, and that is what is meant in this hadith. Moreover, one cannot learn such a fine grammatical point by oneself, for it is a topic that belongs to formal education. Hence, such an educational experience was not possible for the messenger of God. He was illiterate. Thus, he was not speaking his own thoughts, but rather he was relaying what the eternal teacher taught him to say. For this reason, there are many subtle grammatical points found in the prophet's expressions and declarations, and there are no errors in usage. Let us return to the above hadith. Real Muslims are people in whom one can feel confidence and trust, so much so that other Muslims can turn their backs on them without a second thought. One can entrust a family member to such people without fear. This person will suffer no injury from the hand or tongue of the Muslim. If one were to attend a gathering with a true Muslim, one could leave in full confidence that no one will gossip about one, nor would one have to listen to gossip about others. Such Muslims are as sensitive to the dignity and honor of other people as they are to their own. They do not eat, they feed others. They do not live for themselves, they live to enable others to live. They will even sacrifice their spiritual pleasure for others. I derive all these meanings from the fact that the definite article in Arabic also means hasr, a restraining, a devotion to a specific purpose. Security and Muslims. Etymologically speaking, the word Muslim and the verb selime both come from the root silm. This means that for Muslims, every matter takes place in line with silm, security, seleme, safety, and Muslimness. Muslims are seized by such a divine attraction that all of their actions take place around this powerful center. They greet everyone with salam, thereby placing love for themselves in everyone's heart. They end their prayers with salam. All people, jinn, angels, and conscious creatures receive their salam. That is, they exchange greetings with invisible creatures as well. Until now, no other people have extended this circle of greeting to such a degree as have the Muslims. Islam consists of performing such principal duties as fasting, giving alms, performing the Hajj, and striving to profess the faith. This means that they set sail on the sea of safety and security by obeying the command, "Enter safety, Islam, wholeheartedly." 2:208. Those who throw themselves into that sea emanate safety and Islam in every condition. No one sees anything but goodness in the actions and behavior of such people. Why the tongue and hand? As in every statement of our Master, peace and blessings be upon him, every word in the hadith mentioned above was chosen carefully. Why did he choose the hand and the tongue to speak about? Of course, there are many subtle points related to this choice. A person can harm someone in two ways, either directly or indirectly. The hand represents physical presence, directly, and the tongue represents absence, indirectly. People either attack others directly, physically, or indirectly through gossip and ridicule. Real Muslims never engage in such activities because they are supposed to always act justly and generously, whether they are acting directly or indirectly. The Prophet mentioned the tongue before the hand because in Islam one can retaliate for what has been done with the hand. However, the same is not always true for damage done indirectly through gossip or slander. Thus, such action can easily cause conflict between individuals, communities, and even nations. Dealing with this type of harm is relatively more difficult than dealing with the harm caused by the hand, and this is the reason why the Prophet mentioned the tongue before the hand. On the other hand, the value of Muslims before God has been indicated. Being a Muslim has such a great value before God that other Muslims must control their hands and tongues in their actions toward them. Another important moral dimension of Islam is that Muslims must keep at bay things that will harm others, whether physically or spiritually, and they must do their best not to harm others. Let alone not causing harm, every segment of Muslim society must also represent safety and security. Muslims can be real Muslims to the extent that they carry within themselves a feeling of safety and that their hearts beat with trust. Wherever they are or wherever they live, this feeling that derives from as-salam is revealed. They wish for safety upon departure, adorn their prayers with greetings, and send salams to other believers when they end their prayers. In all probability, it is inconceivable that people who lead their whole lives in such an orbit of salam would embark on a path that is contrary to the basic principles of safety, trust, soundness, and worldly and otherworldly security, thus causing harm to themselves or to others. It would be useful to examine the very essence of these points. True Muslims are the most trustworthy representatives of universal peace. They travel everywhere with this sublime feeling, nourished deep in their spirits. Far from giving torment or suffering, they are remembered everywhere as symbols of safety and security. In their eyes, there is no difference between a physical, direct, or a verbal, indirect violation of someone's rights. In fact, in some cases, the latter is considered to be a greater crime than the former. Ideal spirits and heroes of love. Only those who overflow with love will be able to build the happy and enlightened world of the future. Their lips smile with love, their hearts brim over with love, Their eyes radiate love and the most tender human feelings. Such are the heroes of love who continuously receive messages of love from the rising and setting of the sun and from the flickering light of the stars. Those who attempt to reform the world must first reform themselves. In order for others to follow them on the way to a better world, they must purify their inner worlds of hatred, rancor, and jealousy, and adorn their outer worlds with all kinds of virtue. The utterances of those who are far removed from self-control and self-discipline, those who have failed to refine their feelings, may seem attractive and insightful at first, but they will not be able to inspire others, or if indeed they can, the sentiments they arouse will soon die away. Goodness, beauty, truthfulness, and being virtuous are embedded in the essence of the world. Whatever happens, the world will one day find this essence, and no one will be able to prevent that from happening. Those who strive to enlighten others, those who seek happiness for them and extend them a helping hand, have such a developed and enlightened spirit that they are like guardian angels. They struggle with the disasters that befall society. They stand up to storms. They hurry to put out the fires, and they are always on the alert for possible shocks. Devotees of Love. Bediüzzaman said, "We are devotees of love. We do not have time for antagonism." This is a very important principle for us. However, it is not enough to say just this. The crucial matter is to represent it. As a matter of fact, many speak beautiful words about loving humankind, and these are indeed pleasant words. But I wonder how many of those who speak such words are able to put into action and represent in themselves, in their characters, what they have verbalized. I think it would be difficult to find a satisfying answer to this question. Representing what he preached is one of the important characteristics of our prophet. He practiced whatever he said and implemented in his life whatever words he spoke. Words that are not put into practice, regardless of how beautiful or perfect they may be, are doomed to be spoiled, to be wasted, and to lose their influence with time. It will be understood by their impact on hearts how stagnant not only human words but even divine words can become if they are not put into practice. Not even one letter of the Quran has been changed, and it has maintained the same freshness and originality it had at the moment it was first revealed. It is a blessed and celebrated book, but it has become a victim of not being seen clearly through the foggy atmosphere of weak human representation and emptiness, and consequently is subject to the delirious ravings of deficiency that are not a characteristic of the Quran itself, but rather attributable to the societies that have failed to carry it over into life. Religion and the Quran should be vital to life and must be fully understood so that we can remain dynamic. The Quran should be fully represented so that it can perform the function that is expected from it. In short, what I want to say here is this. It is not enough to say that you are a devotee of love and a representative of peace. There are a number of obstacles that must be overcome. The crux of the matter is to put that beautiful expression of words into practice. Love and affection are among the most important principles of Islam. We must represent these throughout the world. However, certain recent negative events in particular have led people to think of Islam as being other than it really is. Of course, it would be completely wrong to attribute to Islam the mistakes that some people have made. It is true that a serious change has occurred in a neighboring country, which has severely harmed the Muslim world, although many of the problems there could have been solved through reconciliation. This did not spread because it did not go beyond mere slogans. Moreover, that is not the only country that has incorrectly reflected the image of Islam in the world. There are many other countries and leaders that continually portray negative images through their attitudes and behavior, and of course, in so doing, it is the opponents of the Quran who always benefit. Moreover, we must be insistent on what we say and we must be fully determined to implement it. Our inner world should overflow with love and affection for humankind. There should be no place at all in our heart for hostility. Let there be no doubt. This new century is going to be an age when love and dialogue will flourish. Antagonism will be eradicated, and love and tolerance will spring up everywhere. This is not a remote probability, especially at a time when the world is experiencing globalization. God willing, when the time comes, the Holy Ones will carry out this mission. People of Love. The people of love, like Rumi, Yunus, Yesevi, and Bediüzzaman, were attached to God at a much greater degree than us, and their fallibility was much less than ours. For this reason, they made tremendous efforts regarding love, affection, and tolerance, and they greatly influenced those around them on this matter. But if we evaluate them within the period they lived, none of them saw the level of dialogue and tolerance that has been attained today by believing people as a result of their efforts. In fact, each of them had to face unbecoming treatment. In comparison with what they suffered, the treatment we face is almost nothing. Bediüzzaman says, in concerning the suffering they had to bear, "Do they think I am an egoist who is only concerned for myself? In order to save the faith of the community, I have sacrificed my whole life and have had no time to think about my afterlife. During my life of over 80 years, I have tasted no worldly pleasure. I have spent my life on battlefields, in prisons, or in jails and courts of this country. They have treated me like a criminal, banishing me from one town to another, keeping me under constant surveillance. There has been no persecution I have not tasted, no oppression I have not suffered. But if I were able to see the faith of my community secured, then I would not care about even being burned in the flames of hell. For while my body is burning, my heart will blossom like a rose garden." Bediüzzaman Said Nursi, Biography. In spite of all these difficulties, none of these men of love saw the degree of acceptance in their own time that is received by today's representatives of dialogue and tolerance. Their messages did not have the same impact on the public that the messages of today's heroes of tolerance have. I think that if they were to live in this century and were to see today's trend toward dialogue and tolerance, they would ask, "How have you been able to be successful with dialogue all over the world? What is your secret?" Such a distinction was not destined for these giants of light, because the conditions of the time were not appropriate. In order to attain this distinction, it is necessary to persist on this way. Yesterday, an eminent person said to me, "Some circles that were strongly opposed to believers until yesterday are now greatly supporting and commending them. In fact, these are all indications of the feeling of welcome for these devotees of love that God has put into the hearts of other people. Ignoring this would be sheer ingratitude, and witnessing it, but neglecting to give thanks for it, would be another dimension of unbelief." What it takes to be a believer. Today, above all else, we are in need of a generation that is conscientious in fulfilling their duty toward God, and we need ideal people who can guide society. We are in need of ideal guides who will save humanity from the accursed abysses of atheism, ignorance, error, and anarchy, and who will lead them to faith, insight, the correct destination, and peace. In each and every era of depression, there have been minds that have enlightened the masses suffering from religious, intellectual, social, financial, and moral depression. These minds have reinterpreted human beings, the universe, and existence in its entirety, and they have even reinterpreted the background to existence, removing obstacles in our thought processes. Many times have people made a new shirt from their death shroud. They have reinterpreted things and phenomena many times. They have recited the book of existence, a book which in the perceptions of shallow minds had lost its color and luster and taken on a dim hue. As if it were music, feeling it to its very depths, they have observed it like an exhibition. They have unraveled the truths hidden in the heart of the universe by analyzing things season by season, paragraph by paragraph. The most important characteristics of such auspicious people are their faith and the efforts they make to cause others to experience that faith. With this faith and these efforts, they believe that they will be able to surmount everything and reach God. And they believe they can attain true peace, be able to turn the world into a paradise and raise their standard in Eden. The joy of their destination makes them perceive life and the service of good deeds as a journey along the valleys of heaven. In truth, whatever its peculiarities or complexities, no other system, doctrine, or philosophy has had such a positive influence on the faith of humanity. When faith enters the hearts of people within its own frame, the thoughts of these people concerning the universe, objects, and God all suddenly change, deepening and reaching a vastness which allows them to evaluate all existence as if it were the pages of an open book. All that such people have seen around them, things which to that date have aroused no interest in them, everything that has been lifeless and meaningless until that day, suddenly become vitalized and now appear as friends, companions, and these things embrace them. In this heartwarming atmosphere, people feel themselves to be a degree of their own value. They understand that they are a conscious and unique part of existence. They attain the mysteries of the long, winding paths between the pages and lines of the universe. They feel that they are close to grasping the secret that lies behind the veil of all things, and then they are set free from the narrow prison of this three-dimensional world, finding themselves in the stretches of eternity. Indeed, all believers, through the thoughts which flow in the depths of their identity and in accordance with the degree of their faith, become boundless with their bounds. Even though they are bound by space and time, they become paragons of unrestricted beings, reaching the ranks of beings that are above and beyond the concerns of space, listening to the angels' melodies. These beings, created from water, from what appears to be a shapeless pulp, what seems to be an insignificant creature, but what is in reality truly great, gains such importance that the earth becomes the stage for the discovery of the divine breath contained in his or her soul. And they become such creatures that they no longer fit between the skies and the earth, becoming transcendent beings reaching between the two poles. They walk amongst us, sit with us. Their feet step where our feet step, and they place their head when praying on the same spot that we do. But they manage to unite their feet and their head, thus becoming a sphere. They prostrate themselves before God, putting themselves in front of Him, like a ramp on the way to being close to Him, and attain the horizon of becoming one of the closest to God in one step. They beat their wings in the same skies as the spirits and live like celestial beings in a human state. Such hearts always surpass individuality with development and expansion of humane feelings. They become, in a way, a collective personality, and embrace all believers. They lend a hand to everyone and salute creation in its entirety with the sincerest of feelings. They see colors, watch shapes, and are aware of the sounds of holy visions in everything and every one that they encounter. They listen to the sounds of heaven on every possible frequency, and feel as if they can hear the beating of angels' wings. They see, feel, and listen to such a vast ceremony of beauties, from terrifying bolts of thunder to the revelatory songs of the birds, from the crashing waves of the seas to the gentle sound of the rivers which inspire feelings of eternity, from the magical reverberation of the solitary woods to the accents of the awe-inspiring summits that seem to be reaching to the heavens, from the magical breezes that seem to caress the green hills to the enrapturing scents that pour out of gardens and spread everywhere. They say, "This must be life." They try to give their breath its due value with prayers and by verbalizing and contemplating the beautiful names of God. They open and close their eyes. Their foreheads are always touching the floor, anticipating a familiar look from the threshold of a door which they hope will open. And they observe the other side of the door with longing, waiting for that happy hour when loss and longing will withdraw, and peace and closeness will envelop their soul like a holy talisman. They try to find satisfaction for the desire of reunion in their soul. They keep running toward Him, sometimes flying, sometimes limping on the ground, unified with everyone and everything. They experience the joy of a wedding night in the shadow of reunion at every station, extinguishing another one of the many fires of longing at every turn, and, at that very moment, they are alight with a new flame and start to burn. Who knows how many times they will find themselves surrounded with the breath of divine intimacy, and how many times their hearts will be wounded by the aspect of the loneliness and tragedy of those who cannot feel this inspiration. Indeed, souls that have such broadened horizons feel themselves to be always on the ramp toward new realms, always tensed with a resolution and determination to transcend human norms. They think of what further abilities they will be able to attain and what successes they will achieve with faith and the power behind that faith. They keep running without feeling exhausted, with their horizon and prospect always open and their hearts at peace. At every station, their relationship with their environment grows and deepens. They may or may not be aware of it, but when they listen to their souls, they see themselves on a never-ending mountainside of peace, despite the numerous motifs of longing and loneliness that they witness in other people. They never feel the agony of the road or homesickness because they know where they have come from and why and where they are headed. And they are aware of all the harvesting and dispersion in the world, and they are aware that they are running on a particular track with a fixed purpose and aim. They feel neither the weariness of the road nor experience the fears, worries, or agonies that other people do. They trust in God, striding with hope and tasting the joy of reaching the summit that holds the sky-blue dreams of tomorrow. Indeed, on the roads along which the world strides, these chivalrous heroes of faith make their way to the degree of their faith, as if they were strolling along the valleys of heaven, breathing nothing but peace. On the other hand, through their affiliation with God, they can challenge the whole universe, they can surmount any difficulty, and they do not fall into despair even if they witness destruction everywhere. They do not recoil in terror even when hells appear before them. They always hold their head high and never bow except before God. They concede nothing to anyone. They expect nothing from anyone, nor do they make themselves indebted to anyone. When they are victorious and attain one success after another, they shake with fear at the comprehension that this is in fact a test of their loyalty and submission to God, while at the same time they are humbled with gratitude and shed tears of joy. They know how to be patient when they lose and are tensed with determination. They start their journey anew with a sharpened will. They do not become arrogant or ungrateful in the face of bounty, nor do they fall into despair when they suffer deprivation. They carry a prophet-like heart in their exchanges with people. They love and embrace everyone. They turn a blind eye to the faults of others, while at the same time they are able to question the smallest faults of their own. They forgive the faults of those around them, not only under normal conditions, but also at times when they feel angered. They know how to live peacefully with even the most irritable of souls. In fact, Islam advises its followers to forgive as much as possible, and not to fall prey to feelings of rancor, hatred, or revenge. In any case, it is inconceivable that those who are conscious of being on the path toward God should or could be any other way. To behave in any other way or to think in any other way is out of the question. On the contrary, in all their acts they seek the means by which they can benefit others. They wish for the good of others, and they try to keep alive the love in their hearts, waging a never-ending battle against rancor and hate. They feel the heat of their own faults and sins, burning with penitence, and they grasp the evil thoughts inside themselves by the throat a few times each day. They start their work willingly and prepare the ground for the seedlings of good and beauty everywhere. In the footsteps of Rabia el-Adawiya, they accept everyone and everything as a sweet syrup, even though it may be poison. Even when they are approached with hatred, they welcome with smiles, and they repel the greatest armies with the indefatigable weapon of love. God loves these people, and they love God. They are always stirred by the excitement of love and experience the dazzling delights of the feeling of being loved. Their wings of humility always rest on the ground, and they need to become the soil in order to attain the joy of giving birth to roses. As much as they are respectful to others, they also value their honor. They never allow their indulgence, affection, gentleness, and refinement to be interpreted as a weakness. They never heed the censure or appraisal of other people, as they live according to their faith. They take care only not to let their own thought atlas lose its luster, for they have resolved to be good believers. Spirits devoted to God. The most remarkable feature of those who have devoted themselves to the bestowal of God's consent and to the ideal of loving and being loved by Him is that they never expect anything, material or spiritual, in return. Things like profit, wealth, cost, comfort, etc., things to which people of this world pay great attention, do not mean much. They hold no value, nor are they considered as criteria. To devotees, the value of their ideals transcends that of the earthly ones to such an extent that it is almost impossible to divert them from what they seek, God's gratuitous consent, and lead them to any other ideal. In fact, stripped entirely of finite and transient things, devotees undergo such a transformation in their hearts to turn to God that they are changed because they recognize no goal other than their ideal. Since they devote themselves completely to making people love God and to being loved by God, dedicating their lives to enlightening others, and, once again, because they have managed to orient their goal in this unified direction, which, in a sense, contributes to the value of this ideal, they avoid divisive and antagonistic thoughts, such as they and we, others and ours. Neither do such people have any problems, explicit or concealed, with other people. In contrast, all they think of is how they can be useful to society and how they can avoid disputes with the society of which they are members. When they detect a problem in society, they take action like a spiritual leader rather than a warrior, leading people to virtue and lofty spirituality, abstaining from any sort of political dominance or thought of rule. What composes the depths of these devoted spirits is knowledge, the use of this knowledge, a strong and sound understanding of morality and its application in every aspect of life, faithful virtue and the awareness of its indispensability, among other factors. They seek refuge in God from fame and interest-based cold propaganda and ostentatious acts and deeds, things which indeed do not promise anything in the name of their future, that is, for their afterlife. Furthermore, living in accordance with their principles, they ceaselessly endeavor to lead those who watch and imitate to be in awe of sublime human values. Doing all this, such people do not ever expect any interest or kindness from anyone, and they try hard to evade any kind of personal interest or profit. They avoid this as they would a snake or a scorpion. After all, their inner richness has a centripetal power that does not allow any acts of advertisement, boasting, or ostentation. Their amiable behavior, also reflections of their spirits, is of such quality that it fascinates and makes discerning people follow them. For this very reason, these devotees never desire to boast about themselves or to advertise or spread propaganda about themselves, nor are they ambitious to be well known or appreciated. Instead, they endeavor, with all their might and strength, to reach the spiritual life, and they depend all their acts in this regard on sincerity, intending merely to please God. In other words, they aim to attain God's consent with each and every act, and they ceaselessly strive to achieve this sublime goal, not contaminating their prophet-like determination with worldly expectations, ambition, or the appreciation or fondness of others. Because faith, Islam, and the Quran are criticized and questioned in today's world, these people must spend all their energy countering these attacks. It is essential that individuals be supported in their Islamic thoughts and feelings, and that the people be rescued from aimlessness in order to be linked to some sublime ideals. Meeting such a need to the extent that people will never feel obliged to seek anything else is only possible with the revitalization of faith in the hearts of its own patterns and its own style. One may also call this a redirection of people to a spiritual life. Such an approach is extremely important, particularly at a time when some people are relying everything on a change and transformation of social life, trying to reshape it into new patterns. When one tries to redirect toward a spiritual life, there will always be consensus, agreement, and solidarity. Whereas if one is to rely merely on change, then one is likely to witness disputes, divisions, and even fights. Devotees do not experience emptiness in their mental lives and reasoning thanks to this understanding of a unified direction. On the contrary, they remain open to reason, science, and logic regarding this as a prerequisite of their beliefs. Having been melted in the depths of closeness to God, a closeness which depends on one's merit, and in the ocean that is like divine unity, their earthly desires and corporeal passion take on a new shape, spiritual enjoyment as a result of God's consent, with a new pattern, a new style. Thus, devotees can breathe the same air as the angels at the peaks of spiritual life while conversing with terrestrial ones, fulfilling the licit requirements of life on earth. For this reason, these devotees are considered as being related with both the present and the future worlds. Their relation with the present world is due to the fact that they apply and comply with physical forces. What ties them to the next world is the fact that they evaluate every matter in the light of their spiritual life and that of the heart. Any inhibitions in the worldly life that are imposed by the spiritual life do not necessarily entail a complete abandonment of the worldly life. It is for this reason that these people cannot entirely despise the world. In contrast, they always stand in the center rather than on the periphery of the world and rule it. This stance, however, is not one for or in the name of the world, but rather one in the name of complying with the physical forces and an attempt to connect everything to the hereafter. As a matter of fact, this is the way to keep the body in its own frame and the spirit on its own horizon. It is the way to lead life under the leadership of the heart and the spirit. The finite and restricted corporeal life must be to the extent that corporeality deserves, while the spiritual life, always open to eternity, must seek infinitude. If one thinks only supreme and transcendent thoughts, if one leads a life as the life-giver demands, if one regards illuminating others as the fundamental of one's life, and if one always seeks the zenith, then one naturally becomes a practitioner of a supreme program, and thus, to a certain extent, one limits personal desires and passions. Of course, it is challenging to lead such a life, yet this arduous mission is quite simple for those who have devoted themselves to God, for those who aim to glorify His name, for those who zealously commute to and from the gate of God, trying to make people aware of Him, with one hand on the doors of the hearts of people and the other on His gate. Actually, there is nothing that counts as hardship for those who feel in their bosoms the heat of closeness to the Creator, and who try to inculcate belief from their hearts to the community, sometimes with awe and sometimes with friendly love. God confers His favor on the apostle of the heart, who, in the first place, confines his or her glance to Him and thinks only of Him, seeking ways to find Him and taking advantage of every means to reach Him. Presenting this position in His holy presence, God, in return, reminds everybody that they should respect such people, and rewards this tiny piece of terrestrial loyalty with a great deal more of His celestial loyalty. Here is what is squeezed in a drop from that vast ocean of celestial compliment. Repulse not those who call upon their Lord in the morning and in the evening, desiring His face. They have no reckoning against you at all, and you have no reckoning against them at all. El-Anam 6:52. The people mentioned here whom God warned His prophet not to repulse were the very people frequenting the meetings of the messenger of God, people who devoted themselves to God's consent. Provided this devotion is wholehearted and sincere, it is always likely that God will bestow His blessings onto these kinds of people. The more that people aim to please God and the more wholeheartedly that they are attached to God, the more likely they are to be appreciated, rewarded, and the more likely it is that they will become the subject of supreme conversations. The every thought, word, and act of such people will become a luminous atmosphere in the next world, an atmosphere which can also be called the smiling face of fate. Such fortunate people, who filled their sails with the white winds of their fortune, sail with special blessing toward Him, not attaching themselves elsewhere. What the Quran presents as a depiction of these people is worth seeing. Men who neither merchandise nor selling divert from the remembrance of God, or steadfastness in prayer, or giving alms, who fear a day when hearts and eyes shall be upset, that God may recompense them for the best that they have done, and give them more out of His grace, for God provides whom He pleases without measure. An-Nur 24:37-38. Having been stripped of all dejection and sorrow, and also having surrendered to God, and, therefore, being free of all troubles, this kind of free spirit has nothing more to discover. In comparison with such achievements, all the earthly blessings, passions, and pleasures are no different from empty plates left on filthy tables. With regard to the world and its contents, the beauties they aspire to in their spiritual worlds are beyond comparison. After all, what blooms or grows green in the spring and then grows pale in the summer cannot be conceived of as being any different. Being aware of this reality, eternity-oriented spirits disregard everything that does not signify any eternal content, and walk along the corridors of their heart toward the vineyards and gardens, never ever attaching their hearts to the world or to other terrestrial trivia. Today's devotees. Sublime ideals, high objectives, influential and universal projects can only be realized by those who soar high, who remain firm, who proceed on their route steadily, who present a determined stance, and who are motivated by heavenly ecstasies. What we need now is not ordinary people, but rather people devoted to divine reality who think to a lofty degree, people who by putting into practice their thoughts lead first of all their own nation and then all people to enlightenment and help them find God. In other words, dedicated spirits, people who think what needs to be thought, who know what needs to be known, who without hesitation practice what they know, and who wander like Israfil, who is on the verge of blowing the last trumpet in order to prepare dead spirits for the day of resurrection, and who instill hope in everybody. These are people whose hearts beat with sincerity, who cry out the inspirations of their hearts by speaking if they are capable of expressing it, by writing if they can, by means of the magic of poetry if they are poets, and with the fascination of music if they are lovers of music. When it comes to exemplifying these heroes on the stage, they journey throughout the world, ultimately with a spirit of sacred emigration. They whisper with the language of their hearts to those they visit. They promote love throughout their surroundings. They inculcate love in the spirits they meet and establish thrones of love in their bosoms. Through these people, those spirits that thirst for love and friendship are revitalized, and it is to them that these revived spirits lend an ear. But those who emigrate with this kind of feeling and those that welcome them are aloof from all waywardness and are sincere. There are no vested interests between the ones that speak and those that listen, between the ones that display the essence and meaning in their nature and those who observe, between the ones that support and the supported ones, between the ones that bring the bowl of life and those who are awakened to the reality, nor is there any consideration other than that of God's consent. These profound and sincere relations emanate entirely from universal human values and from the common respect that is felt for them. The roses blooming all over the world today take on their hue from the enlightened faces and the comprehension in the spirits of these people. The social geography is being embroidered with their thinking, and it is as if all of humanity is humming these ageless melodies. Considering their sources, these pure feelings and thoughts may seem to be mere droplets. Nonetheless, for those who can conceive, the profound meaning held within them are like boundless seas, foaming with inspiration. as is required by the task itself. This cavalry of the light, which appears to illuminate only their surroundings for a fleeting moment, are now competing in the same way that rain clouds pour down on us bliss, joy, love, and hope, to turn those dry hearts that crave tolerance and love into the gardens of paradise. It can be claimed that the earth, from one end to the other, is heavy with the seeds they have scattered and is impatiently expecting a blessed birth. In the same way, all human beings are exhilarated to see the signs of this blessed event. Though the voices and tunes may vary, what is felt deep in the hearts is always the same. And the winds of dawn are bringing a voice from the river of life to Job and wafting the Abrahamic scent from Joseph's shirt to Jacob. This can be regarded as our final attempt, our advancing to our true position, as well as being seen as an alternative message of revitalization addressed to humanity. As a matter of fact, nations that have been wrung with various crises have also been awaiting such a breeze of hope. How fortunate are the blessed cadre to be the fuse to such an event. And again, how fortunate are the ones whose breasts are receptive to this breeze. We sincerely believe that the hue and design of the world are going to change, and that humanity will relax with these heroes who are dedicated to upholding the monuments of human values. In the future world, human thought will most probably intensify its light through these people. Human goals will be reached, and many of our ideals will be realized through them. These ideals will be realized to such an extent that they will transcend our most utopian dreams. Indeed, all these will certainly take place one day, and, when the time comes, those with empty hearts and gloomy fortunes will repent, weep, and ask for forgiveness from these enlightened spirits. However, it will be too late for them to compensate for the opportunities missed. If only these evil-feeling, harsh, and rough spirits could be a bit more grateful and honest before the day arrives, a day when they will desperately feel regret, then they would not blacken their future. Endeavoring to enlighten every part of the world with a devotion that is suitable for the companions of the Prophet, peace and blessings be upon him, disregarding their own desires and acting in order to live for others without ostentation, on the contrary, always acting humbly. These legendary heroes are displaying today, despite many negative factors, a generosity rarely matched in history. They have come to serve humanity. They are whispering something from the bottom of their hearts, creating a paradise on earth by planting new saplings everywhere, trying to express themselves and inviting everybody to eternity, always faithful, determined, decisive, and hopeful for the future. The path on which they walk may seem hazardous. They, however, are aware of this. They have already taken into account that the roads will be difficult and treacherous, that the bridges will be impassable and their roads will be blocked. They are also awaiting turmoil of hatred and enmity. It is true that they have an unshakable belief in the path that they follow, yet they are always aware of the possibility that they may encounter obstacles that they have not conceived of before. For this very reason, they take on these hardships as being peculiar to the divine path, and they keep up their pace, never losing any enthusiasm. Against these hardships, they surrender to God, taking refuge in the unshakable fortress of belief, endeavoring to comprehend the era and the events in which they live, and to walk to the horizon of God's consent, depending on His promise of achievement. In fact, it is detrimental for anyone to dissuade these righteous people who live with a reconciliation of heart and intellect to give up the values in which they believe. Nor can anyone prevent them from acting in accordance with God's consent and from trying to inculcate their feelings and their Creator into the world. With this sense of responsibility and duty, they have managed to stand like mountains and challenge storms and tempests, to struggle with the elements and, having discovered the secret of growing fruits in all seasons, to grow roses and to sing songs of roses. As far as their acts are concerned, they are always as reliable as clockwork, and they are exemplars of renewal, freshness, and righteousness. They lack neither harmony in their behavior nor have bitterness in their expressions. Their hearts are as pure and clear as those of the angels, and their tongues are faithful interpreters of their inner profundity. In this sense, their attitude and acts are almost always objects of envy, and their expressions arouse excitement. What they incessantly think of in their inner realms is the consideration of God. In their expressions there is an evident profound love of God, a love of existence and tolerance, affection, care, and forgiveness. Their unique objective is God's consent. Their indispensable passion is to study and interpret the universe and phenomena correctly. The virtual hue of their nature is love and the baring of their breasts to people. The moment they present their stance toward God with their deepest love, they melt and are able to penetrate the most solid of hearts and the harshest of natures with the magic key of love. There they try to live up to the distinction of the blessings of the sublime Creator. They love and are loved. With a prophet-like ambition, they stand like mountains against the most pitiless attacks. When looking around, they look with divine eyes. Neither do they collapse in furious storms, nor do they shake during the strongest quakes. They bare their breasts to the waves and the downpour that come, and always display generosity. These valiant ones are aware of what is necessary to undertake this enormous task of seeking attainment of God's consent, and therefore they are ready to receive it, no matter what the circumstances. In terms of their personalities, they are as minute and modest as a candle, designed to burn and enlighten, and yet always motivated and ready to compete with saintly ones, even if they do not appear to be competitive. Even when they appear to be still, they are always lively, determined, and feverish in their inner activities. At times they, like the seas, water their environment with their waves, or make distant places cool with clouds composed of their vapor. Near or far, they provide the elixir of life everywhere, and they wander as they inspire revival in listless bodies that have suffered over the ages. They tirelessly relate the tales in their hearts to others, and keep aloof from any gossip or disputes that might bring about hatred in society. As always, they dream of being beneficial to people. They feel sincerely in the depths of their spirits the agony and depression of others. They adopt a welcoming stance to whoever visits them, listening to their problems and grieving for them. They seek out the grief-stricken ones and rush with people who share the same passion to relieve the pain of others. At times, they bravely face difficulties and plant roses with determination, even in the midst of thorns. They are constantly singing of roses. Sometimes, under the influence of great pain and grief, these people turn the hue of blood, like a rose that is mourning the seeds that it has sent out into the world. At other times they become nearly exasperated, and their melodies turn into wails. Despite all this, they place their hands over their hearts, and murmuring, "All is with God," they walk toward their purpose, smiling and turning the places they frequent into green gardens. The people to whom they give a hand, whom they have revived, feel as if they have drunk from the elixir of life. Their helping hands are luminous, like the white hand of Moses. Their striving undoes all the spells of magicians, making all the pharaonic thoughts surrender. They have such inspiration and wealth that the wealth of Croesus is trivial in comparison. They can even reserve the entire world with this wealth and richness if they wish. The scales of charity, which is their life, is always tipped on the generous side, so much so that it infuriates the devils. They well know where to invest their lives. As a result, they are extremely good at bartering transient things for everlasting ones. Never do they waste their time, nor do they accept falling behind in service. Their moral exertion is elevated, their willpower is strong, and their resolution constant. Belief and action are an important discipline of their hearts and behavior. They fear no one save God, and are always upright. They stand upright and walk humbly toward their goal of enlightening the whole world. They breathe out their holy thoughts like the winds, sometimes scattering seeds around them, and at other times letting them rain down, distributing life over the surface of the earth. Neither setbacks in their activities nor consecutive crises can shake them. They frequently renew their oaths and spend all the blessings God confers upon them on the reinforcement of their monumental spirits. Wherever religion, piety, and the approval of God can be found, it is there that they endeavor to stay. They race toward the fulfillment of His orders. They take such great pains to succeed in worldly affairs that people who see these valiant ones take them to be people of the world unaware of the hereafter. When they see the love in them, however, they think of them as being those of the highest rank. They abhor being idle or wasting their lives. They are always active in restoring religious life by composing something if they are literate, or by presenting a pen to those who are literate. They always strive to continue to make their contributions in the caravan of service. They love knowledge, respecting the wise ones, making friends with sensitive people, and continuously mentioning the beloved one in their conversations. Even if there were no real people left on earth, even if all the horizons were obscured by dust, even if the streets had been invaded by total depravity, even if the thorns were to outnumber the roses, even if the avenues were peopled with magpies and their singing drowned out that of the nightingales, even if wasps were to fly around the honey bowls, even if a terrifying jungle wilderness were to dominate the streets, even if there was no respect left for knowledge, even if knowledge had been driven from every door, even if humanity had become a victim of disloyalty, even if friendships had been forgotten and friends had become enemies, they would still stand unshakable and say, "I stand, even though all the others have collapsed. Everywhere may turn to desert, but since I have my tears for moisture, it is not a problem. God has given me 2 feet on which to walk and 2 hands with which to work. I have belief as my capital, and my territory is as vast as my heart. Opportunities to restore the world are awaiting me. With these opportunities, I can turn the whole world into a heaven, God willing. Why worry about the future when this land is so fertile? Moreover, does not God promise to make 1 into 1,000 in the other world?" And thus they advance, despite collapsed bridges and blocked roads. Like a river, they bring life to everything, extinguishing the fires that are in every one and that are found everywhere. Or like fire, even though it puts itself out, they protect people against the cold. Like candles, they melt, yet they provide light for thousands of eyes. The very road that they walk on is a common route for saints, and it has never been witnessed that the walkers on this road have failed to arrive at their destinations. They are constantly faithful and enthusiastic, and they are generous enough to spend freely from all their belongings in the name of God. They spend their lives at feasts of giving, hoping to find that what they have given of in this world has been multiplied. In their eyes, there is no rank higher than that of preserving the religion and representing it across the world. They take this goal as their raison d'etre and live accordingly. All they are aware of is this thought. They come together for the purpose of projecting it and for deepening their togetherness by connecting it with God. The residents of the highest heavens applaud them too and ease their way on the roads in verification of their holy mission. Never do they consider their own comfort, and they always have God in their minds. They uphold virtue, promote human values, open their hearts to everyone in a prophet-like manner, and they live for others. In return for their generosity, God honors them with surprising privileges on a day when our feet and hands are of no use. He bestows them with feathers from the wings of the angels and awards them with a meeting with His holy presence. God also includes them among the blessed ones, treating them as His special guests and crowning all these blessings with His consent. Human beings and their nature. Humans, the greatest mirror of the names, attributes, and deeds of God, are a shining mirror, a marvelous fruit of life, a source for the whole universe, a sea that appears to be a tiny drop, a son formed as a humble seed, a great melody in spite of their insignificant physical positions, and the source for existence, all contained within a small body. Humans carry a holy secret that makes them equal to the entire universe with all their wealth of character, a wealth that can be developed to excellence. Humans are the signs and interpreters of the most sublime one, in that the qualities given to them in the name of God in this transient world are open to development, and in fact have already been developed. Humans are the brightest mirrors of their master, mirrors that reflect significant expressions. All of existence becomes a legible book only with their understanding and foresight, and these are the true qualities that are exhibited. It can be said that God is the mere source of all the wealth of the entire universe. Humans, together with everything in and around them, on the other hand, are the royal witnesses of their master. People who have truly found their paths to God through their essence act also as guides for others, as they have attained the title of being witnesses of God. Should you have a chance to meet such people, it means you can avoid confusion and avoid sin. If you have a vision, or in other words, if you are aware of His holy secret, it means you are able to experience everything in a different dimension. Of course, humans whose thoughts are as clear as their beliefs, whose behavior and manners are intended to please God, remind everybody of God whenever and wherever they appear. Such people arouse unconsciously and unknowingly the feeling that they are witnesses of God. Prophet Muhammad, the pride of humanity, peace and blessings be upon him, has achieved horizons beyond that of the angels with his abilities, which he later developed to an even higher level, was both the seed and the fruit of the tree of existence. However much humanity thanks God for this family tree and its choice of fruit, it is not enough. Essentially, the first to be remembered when the word human is pronounced is the messenger of God, because there is no one that ranks higher than he. And yet, this exalted being was the fruit of the tree of life as well. In short, while the human being is the most honorable of those created, the prophet is the pride of humanity. When this entire boundless universe, with all of its riches, components, and history, is connected to humanity, it becomes clear why the value of humankind transcends all. It can also be said that God created not only this world, but also the next, in the name of the realization of human perfection. God's messenger sensed the other world as he was leading his life in this world, softening his pain here with expectations from the other world, experiencing heavens through the width of his faith even before he actually headed for paradise, while also sharing with his companions whatever he sensed. It must be once again stated that despite his vastness, he was a human, the brightest and luminous fruit of the tree of humankind. Humans, however, are far from accomplishing such an achievement due to their corporeality and sensuality. Moreover, it can also be claimed that when humans are unaware of themselves or of their existence, then they are lower than other creatures. Yet humans, with their intellects, beliefs, consciences, and spirits, are observers and commentators of the holy secrets that are found hidden between the lines of life. So humans, no matter how insignificant they appear, they are the highest example. They are more beloved than all others. Islam evaluates humankind without going to extremes. It is the only religion among all the belief systems which sees humans as being exalted creatures directed toward a special mission, equipped with superior potential and talents. According to Islam, humans are superior merely because they are human. Truly, we created human with real honor. Through their surrender to God and His messenger, humans irrevocably secure this station. Glory belongs to God, to His messenger, and thus to Muslims. With their striving and struggle on the earth, they too become God's favorite. Undoubtedly, we show those who strive on our path the way to success and satisfaction. God is, of course, with those that worship Him as if they see Him. The most merciful God creates love in the hearts of people for those that believe and act accordingly. The Quran exemplifies the superiority of humanity in all its various aspects with the above statement. Everything that humans are granted, namely their faith, good deeds, and creation, is built upon human values, like a lacework woven on the threads of human nature. Humanity is conferred upon humans as a gift. No price is asked, and nothing is expected in return. All these human relations are built up within this significance, and in this context and these relations are always affected by these. A human being, be they man or woman, young or old, black or white, is respectable, protected, and inviolate. Their belongings cannot be taken away, nor can their chastity be touched. They cannot be driven out of their native land, and their independence cannot be denied. They cannot be prevented from living in accordance with their principles either. Moreover, they are prohibited from committing such crimes against others as well. They do not have the right to inflict harm on this gift that is presented to them by God, for they only are in temporary possession of this bounty. God is the true owner of everything. Humans are only charged with protecting this transient trust. Humans are to defend and keep safe this gift. It is holy for them. They will not harm it, nor allow it to come to any harm. When necessary, they will fight for it and die for it. Stressing the significance of the inalienable rights of humanity and emphasizing the superiority of humanity, the Sultan of the world, peace and blessings be upon him, put it thus: He who is killed in the name of protecting his wealth is a martyr. He who is killed in the name of protecting his life is a martyr. He who is killed in the name of protecting his relations is a martyr. And he who is killed in the name of protecting his native land is a martyr. How close is humanity today to this level of understanding? I think that to answer this question would be outside the scope of this article. In terms of faith and connected matters, humanity has been blessed with distinction. Truly, when compared to the entire universe, humanity is superior to the heavens and to the angels too. Everything on the earth and in the sky is at its service, and they have the right to make use of these bounties. God confers this gift upon humanity because of its impotence and neediness. God regards human beings as guests in this world. Only those who believe can appreciate such a gift. Believers who are aware of the true meaning of existence would thankfully accept all the universes as a palace for them, and they take all things, living and non-living, as their servants. One step further, when talking about one who acts with the conscience and willpower, and also delves into the depths of the heart and the spirit, then it becomes difficult to describe such a person. The only way to praise such a human being, a person who has developed their potential values and reached the peaks, is to quote Akif. He is created more exalted than even the angels. All the worlds are hidden within him, and the realms are contained in him. Now, after God has bestowed all these on us, what is expected from us as humans? This is what is really important. Whether we discuss such an issue or not is a separate matter. If only everybody were aware that such a great responsibility has befallen them. The inner profundity of humankind. The human being is the essence and the vital element of being, the index and core element of the universe. Human beings are at the center of creation. All other things, living or non-living, compose concentric circles around them. It could be said that the exalted Creator has oriented every creature toward human beings, and He has oriented human beings toward His divine attraction by making them aware of the fact that this is the point where support and expectation of help can be found. Taking into account all the honor that has been granted to humanity, compared with all the rest of creation, humanity must be seen as the voice that expresses the nature of things, the nature of events, and, of course, the nature of the all-powerful One who is behind everything, as well as being understood as a heart that encompasses all the universes. With human beings, creation has found its interpreter and matter has been distilled through the cognition of people, finding its spiritual meaning. The monitoring of things is an ability peculiar to human beings. Their being able to read and interpret the book of the universe is a privilege, and their attribution of everything to the Creator is an exceptional blessing. Their quiet introspection is contemplation, their speech is wisdom, and their conclusive interpretation of all things is love. Humans are the ones who have been granted the privilege to rule and make use of creation, and humans are the ones who reveal all the aspects of the truth behind natural phenomena, offering these to the Creator. Humans sense and discern the relationship between humanity, the universe, and the Creator, a relationship which leads them to knowledge. They discover their potential and depths, surpassing the angels as they are granted the ability to reflect the grandeur of the ocean in a single drop, and to reflect all the suns within a single atom. Having honored the earth, humanity's heels have become the crowns of those who were previously created, and their being created on the earth has been the pride of this physical world related to the spiritual beings in heavens. If we think of the whole of existence as an immense ocean, then the human being is its most precious pearl. If the universe is an exhibition hall with all its glories on display, then the human being is its appreciating visitor. If things and events are a captivating harmony of balances, then the human being is the sensitive spectator. In the light of faith-oriented thought and the healthy consciousness of humanity, existence, which used to seem quiet and surrounded by darkness, has been illuminated, and it has gained beauty, making our hearts feel as if we were in paradise. Until the time when humanity ascended to their throne on earth, the angels and other spiritual beings bore the flag that proclaimed the truth on the horizons of the spiritual realm. The flag, honored by the advent of humanity, started to wave in the heights of the mortal realm. And this globe, so small when compared to the skies, has become equal with the heavens by becoming the horizon of the realms beyond. Humanity has always been the crown of creation. This has been true for as long as faith has been the source of joy, for as long as Islam has been the code of life, for as long as the knowledge of God and love have been the inner dynamics. The earth is dependent on the light that is diffused by humanity. This light has been granted by the Almighty out of His special favor. This special favor has honored humanity, making it the rarest of roses in this garden of beauty. Imam al-Ghazali described this elegance in the following way: "The present creation cannot be more aesthetic, beautiful, or fascinating. Humanity can be seen as the sole nightingale of this world, a world which is but a shadow of paradise." It would not be an exaggeration to say that these galleries, nestled one within the other, have been arranged and designed solely for humanity. It would not be an overstatement to say that this world has been created as the garden for this rarest of roses, or that the sea of existence has been created as the womb of this pearl. Rather, it would be a modest expression of the true state of things. As a matter of fact, the whole of existence, in a way, has been interpreted and voiced in unison via humanity, for humanity, and at humanity's service. It is virtually dependent upon humanity. And in terms of humanity's dependence upon the Creator who has yielded everything to the command of humanity, such an intense relationship is felt between humanity and God that the purpose of all creation can be nothing other than humankind and their servanthood to God. In fact, the needs of humanity are so extensive that they cover all of creation, and are so deep that they extend to eternity. Above all, human beings have been created for eternity, and they long for it. The wishes and demands of human beings are boundless, and their expectations are infinite. Even if the whole world were to be given to humanity, its appetite would not be satisfied, nor would its ambitions cease. Explicitly or not, human souls expect another eternal abode, not to mention the fact that they hanker for the continuation of this transient world. Anybody who owns a heart that is open to the truth wishes to see paradise, which is no more than an insignificant shadow of His grandeur, and they wish to see the exalted Creator in all His magnificence and beauty. People who can feel and sense the truth in the facet of things and occurrences, and who are aware of their position in the universe, are on this journey. At the same time, these people are appreciative of themselves and are open to showing respect for their Lord. As for those in opposition, they cannot be said to feel respect for either themselves or for their Lord. Moreover, they cannot even recognize their Lord as they should. Even if they should do so by chance, they are not able to glorify Him as His greatness requires. Attaining true humanity depends on the recognition of the relationship between the Lord and His servants. Paradoxically, human beings who are considered to be more blessed than the angels in terms of their potential are likely to sink lower than the most contemptible of beings if they do not sense or appreciate this relation. This is stated in the verse, "Those are like cattle, or rather are even more misguided." Al-Araf 7:179. The recognition of this association, which is generally phrased as belief, is a position through which a human being can attain virtual humanity, and from which they can ascend above all other creatures. As for disbelief, another term that indicates the lack of such an association, it turns human beings into beasts. Societies formed by such individuals suffer from severe resentment, fury, lust, greed, mendacity, hypocrisy, envy, deception, and intrigue. That is, disbelief creates societies in which everyone must be on alert. In any case, the people who have yielded to these evil habits can never be recognized as being a nation or a society. Rather, they can merely be described as being non-conscious masses. When Diogenes was searching for a human being in the street during the daytime with the aid of a lantern, he was probably trying to counsel or show his reaction against such people. Mark Aurel, the author of Thoughts, another person who reflects the same idea from a different perspective, says, "Every morning, when I join other people, I think to myself, today I will meet some beasts in human form again. If I reach the evening without startling them or without being bitten by any of them, I will consider myself happy." Rabia el-Adawiya took a more serious and reactionary approach to the matter. "I hardly ever see a human on the street. What I see are some foxes in front of shops, some wolves and other creatures snarling at each other. For a moment, I saw a half-human and arranged my veil regarding him." Obviously, these people do not intend to condemn all members of humanity. Rather, they are trying to depict the inner worlds of those who have turned their inherent human values into selfishness. If people do not control their behavior according to the purpose of their creation or control their inner worlds with respect to their outward appearance in an effort to eliminate inconsistencies, then they are quite likely to appear as those described by Mark Aurel and Rabia el-Adawiya. Among these people you can sometimes come across people whose visage appears to be cheerful, even though they are miserable inside. They too are another type. One philosopher has compared them to a building with two different sides. Its facade is clean, splendid, and impressive, whereas the side facing the rear is dirty, shabby, and derelict. When we see such a building on the street, we say, "Very nice," making a prejudgment. When we examine the other side, however, we condemn the building that we so eagerly praised a few minutes before. The same is true for people. We will always be misled if we evaluate them from a single aspect. What matters is to see them as they really are and to make some efforts to improve their rear walls, as well as considering them in accordance with their good sides. Human beings are the children of their own attributes and attitudes. We can judge which characteristic or attribute is dominant according to the behavior that a person demonstrates, good or evil. Sometimes people can turn into monsters, ready to bite those closest to them. Sometimes people turn into Josephs, their faces shining like the moon, illuminating the dungeon and rendering it a corridor to heaven. Sometimes they become so pure that even the angels envy them. And sometimes they are so wicked that even the devils feel ashamed. Human beings can sometimes become so heavenly that they reach the height of the skies, yet sometimes they are so mean that they become worse than snakes or venomous insects. Human beings are creatures who can demonstrate such a wide range of behavior that they can possess corrupt qualities alongside their merits, and they can be readily tempted to evil in spite of possessing lofty virtues. Faith, wisdom, love, and spiritual pleasures are as much a part of them as their own hearts are. Loving others, embracing everyone, living with feelings of kindness and making others live with the same is the ultimate goal of their lives. Eliminating evil through goodness, loving love, and being in a constant struggle against feelings of enmity are as sweet to them as the whisper of their own soul. Evil feelings such as greed, resentment, hatred, lust, slander, mendacity, hypocrisy, corruption, opportunism, egoism, cowardliness, and ambition stalk them stealthily, waiting for a weak moment. They might be seized by evil feelings and passions, becoming enslaved by them, making them evil to the utmost degree, in spite of the fact that the same people have the potential to be the masters of the universes through their virtues and good behavior. Even if such a person may seem to be free, in reality, they are the most enslaved. Freedom can only be achieved by success in the inner struggle, a struggle termed the Greater Jihad in Islam. Improvement of the inherent potential and the attainment of a second nature that is open to a relationship with the Almighty depend on success in this struggle, a struggle that takes place deep in the soul, on whether or not those undergoing the struggle appreciate this victory, and on whether or not they bend their heads to the level of their feet, forming a circle in their modesty and humility. The weak-willed, who are unable to pass beyond superficiality to look into their inner depths, to see the gaps and defects within their nature as well as the merits of their souls, and who are unable to restore themselves every new day, can never progress in their inner worlds. Even if they continue to talk about making progress, whenever they try to step forwards, they slide ever backwards. Such people cannot manage to rid their eyes, ears, tongues, lips, hands, or feet of their captivity to their own egos. They live as slaves throughout their lives, without even being aware of this tragic fact. To tell the truth, these people, mere slaves of their corporeal desires, are in a pitiable condition. To love and care for those who preserve and improve their humanity is to give them what they deserve. As for the rest, they should be shown love and sympathy, so that they can be saved from the grasp of their evil feelings and passions. Such an attitude is an expression of caring for human beings, whom God created as worthy of respect, and the human being is an entity created to be loved. Humanity and its responsibilities. If humanity is the vicegerent of God on earth, the favorite of all his creation, the essence and substance of existence in its entirety and the brightest mirror of the Creator, and there is no doubt that this is so, then the divine being that has sent humanity to this realm will have given us the right, permission, and ability to discover the mysteries embedded in the soul of the universe, to uncover the hidden power, might, and potential, to use everything to its purpose, and to be the representatives of characteristics that belong to Him, such as knowledge, will, and might. While people are involved in existence and fulfill their title of vicegerent, they will not run into any obstacles that they cannot surmount. They will not experience contradictions in their relationships with things. They should roam freely in the corridors of events, not experiencing stress when they discover the abilities that are stored within their nature, not being held back by unexpected hindrances when realizing their hopes. It is clear that with the success and accomplishments that have been achieved up until today, that people have been sent to the world with specific instruments and opportunities. Indeed, despite all the problems caused by human weakness, if we consider the point that we as humans have reached and the successes we have achieved so far, it is possible that nothing hinders us. Even if we make mistakes in some acts, we have produced many successes. We have been given willpower and have tried to transform existence. We have changed the world by developing it, and wittingly or not, we are the mirror that reflects the new cadre described when the great and just one stated, "I will create a vicegerent on earth." AHBÂR-I 2:30. It is true that people have at times justified the fear of the angels who at the time of human creation predicted the bloodshed. But alongside this partial evil, the good deeds with broad, lasting, and heavenly results achieved by humanity are not insignificant either. Indeed, countering the comparative evil, there have always been relative good deeds in the actions of humanity. The righteous subjects of God are the moons and suns of humanity. In order to counter evil and injury, the pious and those close to Him, the sincere ones and the prophets, have spread good deeds around them. These deeds have been experienced in every place. The right to bear the title of vicegerent, given into the safekeeping of humanity, has been given its due and more, especially by those who are conscious of what the aim of creation is. Believers who have grasped the spirit of creation understand that they have been sent to this world endowed with a different way of thinking and believing, and with different responsibilities. Thus, they must accord their behavior and attune their attitude with this way. That believers have to behave like this is understood through their apparent and hidden abilities, and also through the Quran, which frequently stresses the relationship between due value and the attitudes and behavior of the believer. In the Quran, Almighty God emphasizes the most important goal of being created in the human form, of deserving the status of vicegerent, and of being given these abilities by saying, "I have created jinn and humans for no other reason than to act as my subjects through knowing me." Ad-Dhariyat 51:56. That is, such a primary, clear statement is both a call for communal responsibility and a call for giving thanks for the things that have been bestowed on humanity, as well as being an important caution that focuses our attention on the basic duty of being a vicegerent on earth. Submission, the state of being a subject of God in its broadest sense, is the celestial title of being in harmony with existence and things, of being well adjusted to the world and all that is in it, of making one's way through the mysterious hallways of the universe without getting lost, in short, of protecting the balance of one's inner harmony with existence. The righteous person should put up his standard at the point where the fundamental principles of existence and the orders for rules of conduct meet. Without providing such a balance, it would be impossible to continue on the way, respecting and protecting human values. The success of humankind in protecting their relationship with existence and the physical world can be determined by the degree to which they act in accordance with the purpose of all creation. In contrast, those who do not act according to this purpose, and those who may partially neglect their duties, always clash with the gyrating spheres and grinding wheels of the universe, in addition to suffering from their own purposelessness and lack of supervision. In this way, they are able to turn this world, which is their home, and which could be like a palace, into a hell. Even today, some tremble in fear of the near future, as they are aware that it is possible to turn the world into such a hell. It is an indisputable fact that God alone, who has prepared the universe as if it were a series of galleries, like a book, and who then put it at the convenience of humanity, can know the nature of the compatibility between mathematical laws, the laws under which existence operates, and the general, deliberate behavior of humanity. Within the framework of these messages that emanate from this source of knowledge, obeying orders that are concerned with the rules of conduct is a unique way to comprehend the secrets of the principle of existence. It is also a way to ensure complete harmony with these principles. Indeed, it is only in this way that humanity can escape coming into conflict with laws that apply to all existence without experiencing feelings of loss, and feel the peace of being at home, being in a palace. On the other side of the coin, the separation of people from their Creator, their alienation from Him, will only lead them into a vicious circle of separation and alienation where they will be in conflict with existence and phenomena. It is not possible for such a person to recover. Humanity's vicegerency for the Creator takes place in an unusually broad sphere that encompasses acts ranging from believing in Him and worshiping Him to understanding the mysteries within things and the cause of natural phenomena, and therefore being able to interfere in nature. Throughout their lives, genuine human beings first arrange their feelings and thoughts, regulating their individual and social life through various forms of worship, balancing familial and social relationships by their actions, and carrying the standard of their species from the depths of the earth to the expanse of the heavens, doing what is necessary to be a genuine successor. At the same time, these genuine human beings try to exercise their free will in a constructive manner, working with and developing the world, protecting the harmony between existence and humanity, reaping the bounties of the earth and the heavens for the benefit of humanity, trying to raise the hue, form, and flavor of life to a more humane level within the framework of the Creator's orders and rules. This is the true nature of a vicegerent, and at the same time, this is where the meaning of what it is to be a servant and lover of God can be found. Again, at one and the same time, we can find here the point of convergence between the slightest effort and the most generous gift. The action that will lead people to this point in one step is worship. Worship is not simply the performance of a set of particular movements, as some believe. It is what we call complete submission and the acceptance of broad responsibility. And along with the title of vicegerent, it is the clearest expression of the relationship amongst humans, the universe, and God. If worship is the placing of a consciousness of being bound to God into one's heart, if it is the liberation of one's self from all types of slavery, if it is the title of seeing, hearing, and feeling the beauty, order, and harmony that belong to Him in every molecule of existence, and there is no doubt that it is this and nothing else, then worship is the most immediate way to turn our face to God, with everyone and everything, the soundest and most immediate way of associating everything with Him. It is also a way in which we can renew these apparent and genuine bonds at every minute of the day. No one who consciously walks upon such a road will doubt for a moment that they are a servant, and that their sole duty is to give the bestowed honor of vicegerency its due value. Such people will try to live and let the fleeting life of this world be lived to the full. They will try to inscribe their names in the ink of effort and sincerity wherever they go. They will try to inspire similar feelings in all the places where their hands and their name reach. They will try to reach such a depth that it will fill all the worlds, while inscribing their thoughts on every bit of time and space, thoughts that are bound to Him. They will try to live with a greatness of intention that will be great enough to enable them to appreciate eternity, and thus imbue them with an inner peace that comes from being connected to eternity. They will walk in the greatest spiritual ecstasy, overstepping the boundaries of existence and reaching Eden. And if such people can reflect this duty of service and responsibility in the work and service that they carry out, if they are able to pursue the essence of the fundamental principles of existence and obey the orders concerning rules of conduct, rather than binding themselves to the consequences of their actions, then any unexpected outcome will not cause them to feel defeated, nor will their enthusiasm wane. Instead, they will carry out all deeds of service with a joy of worship and be aware of the gratitude of having reached the apex of true believers, an apex which is considered to be the highest level of existence. Such people will never fall into despair, never panic, and never feel exhausted due to troubles encountered on the road. Such people are far removed from despair, panic, or exhaustion. They rush forward, feeling the intense flavor hidden in the essence of the deed, saying in echo of Rumi, "I have become a slave. I have become a slave. I have become a slave. Slaves are happy when they are set free, but I am honored and happy to truly become a slave of God." These people measure and evaluate the work and the deed not through the result attained, but rather directly by how the duty was performed, whether it has been performed with a pure heart, and whether it corresponds to the approval of God. In this manner, they do not limit the vastness of their subjection by connecting it to any price or reward. They do not adulterate divine and holy deeds with deeds that are bound to the earth. And these people assess their deeds as being naught before the infinite power of the Almighty, and lead their lives in this expansive dimension that they feel in their hearts. People who feel this breadth and depth with all of their emotions and thoughts, and who feel it in the deepest depths of their heart, reach the contentment of being a subject of the Almighty, and are freed from various pressures. Not only are they freed, but they have saved their humanity by being aware in their conscience that they are a servant at a gate that will not crush or block out the light. That is, this is where a person attains real freedom. While one's behavior en route to the appreciation of the blessings from God, blessings that come even if one rejects them, is a duty. The fact that God continues to send these gifts through other various wavelengths is a second blessing. If human beings are the vicegerent of God on earth, they are unique in the fact that they have the potential to be the candidate. Then they will work for God, start everything with the mention of God, be offended for God, love for God, and intervene in existence only within the framework of what has been granted by Him, performing every duty with the aspiration of being His deputy. Thus, people will not take personal pride in their success. They will not fall into despair in defeat. They will not boast of their abilities, nor will they deny the benevolence of the All-Gracious. They will know that everything comes from Him, and will consider all deeds done as their duty. Their confidence will be renewed with every success, and they will turn toward their Lord, call out their trust and loyalty in God, and will, in the words of Akif, repeat to themselves a few times each day, "Trust in God, hold tight to effort, and unify with the celestial will. If there is a path, this is it. I know of no other that leads there." This will be their hymn. They will always be tensed, always determined, always enthusiastic and comprehending of their duty, because they tie their behavior and actions to the purpose of being a subject of God. They will not become arrogant with their victories and successes, nor will they feel the desperation of defeat. They will be of the same determination and resolve, whether they walk along a straight path, or down an incline, or climb the steepest slopes. Indeed, while such people are able to put on a performance that inspires all their mental, spiritual, and emotional abilities to take action, action which surpasses the imagination, in order to fulfill the duty of deputy, they are also pensively expectant, immersed in submission, full of hopes for alternatives, and always in expectation of connecting themselves with God. Here is the genuine believer and the best model of the votary of truth. So many who have made this connection have come and gone, and they have transformed the paths on which they have crossed the hallways of heaven. And still many walk on these paths toward the days promised by All-Merciful. Those who have come and gone and those who follow in their footsteps have all lived and are living as heroes of these characteristics that are peculiar only to themselves. An ideal society. Groups formed by disorganized and sinful, disobedient individuals are merely crowds with no moral or aesthetic values, people who are far removed from the thought of doing good. On the other hand, ideal or complete people carry the qualities of angels and are monuments of human foresight and comprehension. We see these qualities in the following Quranic verse, as well as in many others. We have indeed created man in the most perfect form and nature. At-Tin 95:4. The people to whom this verse refers understand it to mean that they are the most adorned and beautiful forms of creation, material or spiritual. They enjoy the perfect state of creation and are conscious of the unlimited gifts that they have received. Let us try to understand this verse. Humanity took on the responsibility that the earth, the sky, and the mountains rejected, in fear that they would not be able to shoulder this duty. They perceived that humanity was the sole candidate for reaching immortality. Humans may be considered as traveling on the path to becoming a complete person as long as they continue to develop the gifts with which they were adorned and to live according to divine inspiration. Such mysteries, like the meaning of life and death, the reason of existence, and our responsibilities, are always on the minds of such people. They think deeply concerning sins, doing good, and being pious. The meaning of catastrophes that harm humanity agitates their minds. The light of divine wisdom shines in their hearts. The rays of this light are reflected on their souls. All of this allows them to see behind the curtain. Their astonishment and amazement turns into love and affection, and they turn to the Creator of their souls and feel contentment. Souls at this level do not let divine benevolence go to their heads, nor are they shaken by its loss, for they see benevolence and loss as one and the same thing. They understand that reward and punishment are also the same. While others are spoiled by such favors and descend into pessimism at the first sign of trouble, ideal people gain even when they seem doomed to lose. They manage to grow roses in the desert, to produce sugar from a dry cane. Ideal people know that they are being continually tested and refined so that they may attain bliss. Even though they face fatal catastrophes and fall into the most terrible whirlpools, even in the most helpless and distressing moments, they hear comforting and consoling whispers from the other world. Whispers that come from their innermost soul, and they bow in gratitude and admiration. Such people have absolute confidence and trust in God because they believe and trust in that omnipresent and omnipotent immortal power. The pure belief dwelling in the depths of their hearts, their perception that gives them unbelievable perspectives, and their knowledge and thoughts raise them to such a point that they can almost hear a voice say, "Fear not, nor be grieved, and receive good news of the garden which you were promised." And then they witness the most wonderful pleasures of all. Ideal people try to remain removed from sin, for they have designed their lives according to the divine law in which they believe so sincerely. And because they always struggle against their egos, they have no time or energy to engage in ignorant pastimes or bohemian lifestyles. They are always on the lookout for the beauty of their friend. Their minds are on the hereafter. Their hearts are bright and colorful gardens, open to visits from spiritual beings. And they themselves are travelers in and explorers of this mystic land and atmosphere. Worldly people who are enslaved by their egos live only to fulfill their carnal desires. Never content, they feel no tranquility. But ideal people are always at peace with themselves. They are content, and furthermore, they place their knowledge and understanding at the service of humanity. They courageously devote themselves to ridding the world of injustice and tyranny, and are not afraid to protect their land and honor. And at times, they gracefully spread their wings of forgiveness over their brothers and sisters. Knowing that everything but God is mortal and will fade away, ideal people do not bow before anything or anyone other than God. They resist the seductive attractions of the material world. They assess and use in the way of God that which has been bestowed upon them, just like heavenly beings. They examine all that occurs like a scientist in a laboratory. They dedicate their lives to humanity and leave a much better world for coming generations. Ideal people constantly pursue God's blessing and strive to be true. Neither their bodily passions nor spiritual goals cast doubts on their sincerity. They value all servants of God as being the greatest of people and appreciate each as their peer. In their hearts, they melt away any harshness or bad feelings that emanates from others, thus showing how kindness defeats wrong. In their bright atmosphere, spears of lightning fade away. Nimrod, a merciless emperor who ordered Prophet Abraham to be thrown into the fire, saw his flames die down and turn into a green garden that soothed harsh and ill-tempered souls. Most of us have not reached this level yet. We cannot confront wrongdoing with kindness. We confront harshness with harshness and hate with hate. We convince ourselves that our thoughts are objective and not really our own selfish desires. Thus, we besmirch our struggle in the way of God and lose, although we set out to win. If it were not for the beauty, attractiveness, and life-giving rays of the Quran, the misconceptions we have caused and the bad examples we have set would have prevented us from seeing this day.